It begins in silence, the kind of silence that follows something enormous when the world exhales and nobody quite knows what just happened. If you have felt strange these past few days, unsettled in a way you cannot name, restless in your own skin, you are not imagining it. Something moved, something shifted. And for many of you watching right now, that shift did not happen by accident. It happened because we just crossed one of the rarest energetic thresholds of the year. And the days ahead, August 13th and 14th, are where that threshold finally reveals what it was building toward all along. Let's set the stage properly, because context matters here. On August 8th, many spiritual traditions mark what is often called the Lion's Gate portal, a symbolic alignment tied to the star Sirius, the sun in Leo, and a numerological doorway 8-8, believed by those traditions to intensify manifestation, personal power, and inner truth. 4 days later, on August 12, 2026, something astronomically real and extraordinary occurred. A total solar eclipse, the only one of its kind this year, swept across the far north, Greenland, Iceland, northern Spain, plunging day into darkness for those lucky enough to stand in its narrow path. This is a confirmed, scientifically documented event. The moon passed directly between the Earth and the sun, and for a few brief minutes, the sky went dark in the middle of the day. Now here is where astronomy and belief begin to walk side by side, without pretending to be the same thing. Astronomically, an eclipse is simply orbital mechanics, the precise, predictable choreography of three bodies in space. But across nearly every culture in human history, eclipses have also been treated as symbolic punctuation marks in time. Ancient civilizations paused their wars during eclipses. Babylonian astronomers recorded them as omens of change in leadership. Indigenous traditions in the Americas, Asia, and Africa held ceremonies around them, treating the temporary vanishing of the sun as an invitation to look inward. Since the outer world had quite literally gone dark, astrologers today continue that thread, viewing solar eclipses as accelerated new moons, moments that can compress months of change into days, nudging things to begin or end abruptly, whether we feel ready or not. So when we talk about August 13th and 14th as the reflection window after this eclipse, we are not talking about additional astronomical events. The eclipse itself was on the 12th, and that is a fact you can verify with any observatory or space agency. What the 13th and 14th represent, in the language of astrology and energy work, is something softer and more human. The emotional and psychological unpacking that tends to follow a big cosmic moment. Think of the eclipse as the lightning strike, and these 2 days as the thunder that rolls in afterward, the part where you actually feel what happened. This is belief, not prophecy. It is a lens some people find meaningful, not a scientific claim. And I want to be honest with you about that distinction the entire way through this video, because you deserve information you can trust. With that groundwork laid, let's talk about what people all over the world are reporting. They've been noticing since the eclipse passed. 5 signs that, according to those who follow this kind of energetic mapping, suggest the shift is already underway inside you. Even if nothing outside has visibly changed yet, the first sign is a restlessness with no clear source. Maybe you've been sleeping fine, your schedule hasn't changed, nothing dramatic has happened, and yet you feel like you're vibrating slightly out of sync with your own life. You reorganize a drawer at 11 at night for no reason. You feel the urge to walk somewhere, anywhere, just to move. You catch yourself staring out a window mid-task, thoughts drifting somewhere you can't quite follow. In the language of this eclipse season, that restlessness isn't random. It's described as the nervous system responding to an internal recalibration. The sense that something in you is trying to realign before your conscious mind has caught up. Whether you interpret that as cosmic energy or simply your body processing accumulated stress, the sensation itself is real and worth paying attention to rather than pushing away. The second sign lives in your sleep. Dreams around eclipse windows are often reported as unusually vivid, not the fuzzy, forgettable kind, but the sort that stay with you for hours after waking, sometimes for days. People describe dreaming of old homes they haven't lived in for years, conversations with people they've lost touch with, symbolic imagery that feels loaded with meaning even if they can't decode it. Some describe recurring dreams, the same scene circling back night after night, as if some part of the psyche is trying to finish processing something. In dream psychology, heightened emotional periods are known to intensify dream recall and symbolism, regardless of the astrological framing. So even setting aside the eclipse narrative entirely, if your dreams have felt louder lately, that's worth noticing as information about your inner state. The third sign is sudden clarity. The kind that arrives not through struggle, but almost like a door quietly opening. A decision you've been circling for months, maybe longer, suddenly feels obvious. The job you've been unsure about leaving. The relationship you've been unsure about naming. The move, the apology, the boundary you've rehearsed 100 times in your head, but never said out loud. People describe this clarity as less of a thought and more of a felt knowing, arriving almost too easily after so much deliberation. It's worth pausing here, though, because clarity that arrives fast can still deserve a slower response. More on that in a moment, because how you act on this sign matters just as much as noticing it. The fourth sign is heightened emotional sensitivity. Things that normally wouldn't touch you. A song on the radio, a stranger's kindness, an old photo surfacing on your phone, suddenly land differently. Deeper, sometimes bringing tears that catch you off guard. You might find yourself more reactive than usual, or conversely, more tender, more easily moved. This sensitivity is often described in eclipse-related traditions as the emotional body becoming more porous during these windows, less able to keep its usual walls up. Psychologically speaking, periods when we consciously reflect on change and transition do tend to lower our emotional defenses somewhat, simply because we're paying closer attention to our inner world than usual. Either way, if you felt more raw than normal, you are not broken. You are simply paying attention. The fifth and final sign is the strange, almost paradoxical sensation of an ending and a beginning happening at exactly the same time. You might feel a chapter quietly closing, a relationship, a routine, an old identity you've outgrown, while simultaneously sensing something new taking shape just beneath the surface, not yet visible but unmistakably there. This dual sensation is, according to many who follow eclipse cycles, the signature feeling of this particular kind of astrological window, not one door slamming shut and another swinging open, but both happening in the same breath, overlapping, blurred at the edges. If you've felt like you're standing between two versions of your life right now, that in-between feeling is itself described as meaningful, not something to rush past, but something to actually stand inside for a moment. Now, if you recognized even one of these 5 signs in your own life over the past few days, I want you to know that this is being offered to you as a framework for reflection, a way of naming and organizing feelings that are already there, not as a scientific explanation for why you feel the way you do. Human emotions are shaped by countless real factors: sleep, stress, relationships, unresolved grief, the ordinary weight of being alive. An eclipse doesn't override any of that. What it can do, if you find meaning in this kind of symbolism, is give you a container, a moment marked on the calendar that says, pause here, look inward here. This is a good time to actually feel what you've been avoiding feeling. So if you are in that window right now, what do you actually do with it? The most important thing I can tell you is this: notice everything, but don't act on everything immediately. Big decisions, quitting a job, ending a relationship, making an irreversible move, deserve more than a few emotionally intense days, no matter how convincing the clarity feels in the moment. Emotional intensity is not the same as long-term truth. The feeling that arrives fast during a heightened period like this one can absolutely be valid information, but it deserves to sit for a while, to be tested against your calmer, quieter days, before you build a life-changing decision on top of it. In the meantime, there are simple, grounded ways to move through this period with more steadiness. Rest more than you think you need to. Emotional processing, even symbolic emotional processing, is genuinely tiring. Drink more water than usual, since dehydration alone can amplify feelings of fog and irritability. Practice a few minutes of slow, conscious breathing when the restlessness spikes. In for 4 counts, hold for 4, out for 6. Just enough to remind your body that it's safe. Spend time outside if you can, even just standing barefoot on grass or sitting near a window with real daylight. There is something quietly stabilizing about contact with the natural world during periods of inner turbulence. Set boundaries where you need them. This is not a season to overextend yourself for other people's expectations. And keep a journal nearby, even if you only write a few lines. Writing down what you're noticing without judging it, without needing it to make sense yet, is one of the simplest ways to work with a period like this, rather than being swept along by it. And before I close, one thing that has nothing to do with belief and everything to do with fact. If you were anywhere near the path of totality for the August 12th eclipse, or if you're looking back at photos and footage now, please remember that looking directly at the sun without certified eclipse glasses can cause permanent eye damage even during a partial phase. This is not folklore. It's basic solar safety, confirmed by every space agency and eye health organization on record. Only during the brief seconds of total darkness, in the narrow path of totality, is it briefly safe to look with the naked eye. And only for those few seconds. Please take that seriously. Always, so here we are, past the gate, past the darkness, standing in the quiet stretch of days where the sky has gone back to normal. But something inside so many of us hasn't quite settled yet. Maybe that's the real invitation of a moment like this. Not to chase some dramatic transformation, but simply to stay present with whatever is actually here. The restlessness, the vivid dreams, the clarity, the tenderness, the strange overlap of ending and beginning. Cycles close, cycles open, and more often than not, the most powerful thing we can do in between is nothing more than pay attention. If any of these 5 signs found you this week, I'd love to know which one hit closest to home. Tell me in the comments, because I read every single one, and it always amazes me how many of us are moving through the exact same thing at the exact same time, even from opposite sides of the world. If this video gave you language for something you've been feeling but couldn't quite explain, give it a like. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need it right now. Subscribe if you want to keep walking through these cycles together, and if you know someone who's been a little off lately, a little restless, a little raw, send this their way. Sometimes all we need is someone else saying, "I feel it too." Take care of yourselves out there, and I'll see you in the next one.